Fresh off his Independence Day win with the big, beautiful bill that is now law, President Trump is taking the gloves off once again, threatening BRICS countries with a new 10% tariff. And just now, Trump saying that he's going to impose a 25% tariff on Japan and South Korea starting August 1st after trade negotiations with those countries stalled. We're now seeing the market slide a little bit more on the news. You've got a Dow that's down over 1% right now, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ down just a little bit under 1%. Adam, I want to get your take on it. You know, to me, this is President Trump doing what he does. This is the art of the deal. He threatened you, but it's not an idle threat. He will come back and he will impose his original threat if you don't play ball. And I'm going to guess that these countries between now and August 1st, they're going to play a little ball.
Mr. Trump, President Trump, is turning the screws, and that's what he does. So as far as 25% tariffs on Japan and South Korea go, I'll believe it when I see it. This is just another way, as you just said, Jackie, and I think you're absolutely right, of effectively turning the screws on trading partners, trying to get them to come to the table and give a better deal than they might have originally. If you remember, about 6 or 7 weeks ago, President Trump was saying that Japan was the first country to actually come forward. And he said, and as a result, we're going to treat them very well. And so I think that probably still holds true. He just hasn't quite gotten as much as he wants, and this is one way of ensuring he'll get it.
Having said that, it is July, what is it today? It's July 7th. So less than 30 days to August 1st. Time is of the essence here. Sometimes putting the screws to these countries might get them to the table in a more earnest way, but sometimes you've got situations, countries, blocks like the EU that might balk and just say, we can't do it. We can't do, President Trump, what you want us to do. What do you think, Brian?
Well, so he did say to Japan they were going to get a privileged spot in the line, right?
Right.
And then didn't last week he said they were kind of spoiled? So he sort of went back on them a little bit. He's kind of, he's kind of like one hand saying this on the other hand. Here's the thing, Jackie, what I would say, Adam, you said you'll believe it when you see it.
Yeah.
But I think these countries believe that they will see it if they don't come to the table. I do think the president's holding a strong hand. So the 25%, I went back and looked at that handy-dandy chart from April 2nd on what these countries were going to get, and it was 24% for Japan, and it was 25% for South Korea. So basically what he's saying to them is you're going to get what I said you'd get on April 2nd if you don't do a deal by August 1st, and I think that they know he'll do it. And so I think it's going to be, I don't know how you're going to get these things done so fast. Maybe they've got something in the works already with these guys. I think there's going to be a lot of hurry-up deals going on. That is the president's advantage right now. He has just scored not just little wins, he has scored mammoth wins on the global stage. He has so much capital and so much wind at his back. There is no way you see a Japan or a South Korea, I think, standing up to the president saying, bring those tariffs on us and we'll put them on you.
You know what's interesting about the negotiating strategy, too? The president isn't necessarily, even though he's putting these blanket, tariffs out there for certain countries and threats or whatnot, you don't know how close they are. I mean, Letnick has been working on this for quite some time. Maybe they're just close enough that this is the last push a country needs to be able to ink a deal, and they seem very confident time-wise that they will get it done. So that's what's interesting to me. They may not be as far off in negotiations.
Yeah, it feels like you're probably almost there, and now I'm going to remind you why you need to get this done soon, because if you don't, it goes to the 25%.
I think I'd highlighted a survey a few weeks ago that was taken to a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 big institutional investors, and only less than 5% thought we were going back to Liberation Day tariffs. The majority, over 50%, were thinking these were going to be one-offs, right? And so this was the market that sort of was pricing in these one-offs as a little negotiating strategy, as a button up, buckle up, I don't like what you're doing, here we go. And I would also take some of the cues from the market as well. When you have, after Liberation Day, massive dollar weakness, where it was sort of that narrative of sell America, today you're seeing the reversal. The dollar is stronger against the yen. The dollar is stronger against Brazil. The dollar is stronger against South Korea's currency. Japan's ETF is down 2%. We're only down 1%. Japanese auto firms like Toyota listed in the U.S. down much more than the U.S. The MSCI South Korean index is down 3.5%. We're only down less than 1%. So at least the market is choosing to believe they're going to be hurt a lot more than we will. We can take this in stride, and we think that this will be resolved soon, as long as we're not doing a blanket Liberation Day all over again.
I would argue the market's not down because of the trade negotiations. The market is down as investors who were away last week are digesting the fact that there is not going to be a rate cut this summer. That after the jobs report that came out on Thursday morning, that Nick Timrose, who is kind of the all-knowing, all-seeing Fed reporter at the Wall Street Journal, came out on July 3rd after the jobs report and said the Fed is choosing to weigh how trade, we've heard that argument before from the tariffs are inflationary argument from Jay Powell, the Fed chief, and immigration policies are impacting business decisions.
Immigration policy. They threw that one in there.
Okay. All right. Immigration and trade. So far, Americans are earning more money adjusting for inflation. Up wages 1%, adjusting for inflation, down 4% under Joe Biden. But the headline was June jobs report extends Fed's summer pause. And the markets had really rallied on cheaper money and on easing from the Federal Reserve. One other thing with the issue of the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, the main four, back with the meeting going on between those nations, trying to really slam our dollar, even if they don't do anything. They're trying to hammer it just through messaging. And President Trump saying that anti-American policies of the BRICS nations, any country aligning themselves with that bloc will be charged an additional 10% tariff. So I went back and looked in the Wall Street Journal to find the first reference of BRICS, that acronym, and it was March 2004. It was talking about emerging markets investing. And here's a little quote. In less than 40 years, according to a Goldman Sachs research report from 2003, in less than 40 years, the combined economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, BRICS, could become larger than the combined economies of the US, Japan, UK, Germany, France, and Italy. All right, you're halfway there. 20 years in, and the combined economies of the US, Japan, UK, Germany, France, and Italy are still twice as large as your BRICS countries. So well done, Goldman Sachs. They got another 20 years to catch up, but when you're aligned with a nation like Russia and Brazil and China, communist nation willing to put people in concentration camps, and India is moving forward, but India ought to break loose. And Goldman Sachs, I just like revisiting when the big brains, overpaid big brains at Goldman Sachs are just so wrong.
Don't you think that's what the president's trying to do with India, basically, with this? I don't think he's going to break off China. He's not going to break off Russia, not Brazil.
Right.
But he's saying to India, like, don't hang with these guys. You can hang with us, and you can get rich, and you can succeed, or you can hang with those guys, and you can be mired in China's shadow for the next 40 years, and it's no good for you.
Yeah,
I agree.
But in 2004, the world and the landscape was a different place. I'm not sticking up for Goldman Sachs, but I remember with the BRICS story when it was emerging. And, I mean, things are just a lot different.
They like to dump on America.
They do.
They always choose to dismiss and American exceptionalism. And they're always like, it's what a friend of mine calls, they better deal you.
Yes.
When you're at a party, somebody is looking right past your ear or over the top of your head. They're looking for a better deal because you're not good enough for them to talk to. You're not fancy enough or famous enough. And we just lie back and wait, and we carry a grudge, and we'll get you. We'll get you with our greatness.
I am so tired of all these people out there, all the naysayers, the people on MSNBC and CNN and everywhere else, New York Times, even on occasion the Wall Street Journal, my goodness, talking about the end of American exceptionalism. Are you kidding me? We have been the largest economy for a very long time. We still are. We are the place where everyone wants to be, which is why they're willing to come to the table on these tariffs. And if you need any more evidence, just look at the strike on Iran and think of the precision with which that was carried out. If you think this an end to American exceptionalism, look at the fact that there are tens of thousands of people trying to get into this country who no longer can do so illegally, thankfully. So American exceptionalism is live and well, and it's why the U.S. stock market is at new highs.
I'm not downplaying American exceptionalism at all. I want us to win, and I want us to win every single day, and I love seeing the stock market at new records. But having said that, there also have been some extraordinary opportunities in emerging markets. Final word on that.
I run the American Ingenuity Fund. I buy exclusively American. There may be some good opportunities overseas, but that's not what I do.
Okay, fair enough.